Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to one of our virtual events on university safety. My name is Madeline Bird. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am an assistant director in the Office of Orientation and Transition. The Office of Orientation and Transition has been working really hard this summer in partnership with our student success advocates to bring great information to students and parents kind of using this new and fun virtual landscape. Tonight we're going to be talking specifically about campus safety, and we have several departments here to chat with you all about what campus safety looks like at the University of Utah, because of course our number one goal is to always keep our university community safe. And joining me, first of all, I have Melanie Lee, and she will go ahead and kick us off.
Thanks, Madeline. As Madeline said, we are partnering with the orientation and transition team. We, as in student success advocates, I get the great privilege to work with their team every single day as our associate director. And if you haven't heard about the student success advocates at this point in the summer, know that they are no longer the only mobile team on campus, because Jamie's going to talk about that in a little while. But we are a group of professional staff members who essentially work with your student around whatever success means for them. And so sometimes that's time management, sometimes it's goal setting, sometimes it's learning or working with somebody to craft an email to a faculty member, really all across the gamut. And so they're a team of 11. I know 11 to serve the whole university seems sort of wild, but we do it, we figure it out. And they're just a really fantastic group of people. So if you haven't checked them out or attended other virtual events with them, the SSAs, Student Success Advocates, are just super awesome. And so I get the joy and the privilege to do this tonight, which I don't always get a chance to do. I don't work with students super frequently. So this has been a true treat to work with this group here tonight to bring information about university safety to you to inform your support of students in your house too. So a couple of things about these Zoom events that we've been hosting. We would ask that you keep your microphones on mute throughout the presentation, but utilize the chat feature that you find. That could be located in this sort of big share screen. If you sort of hover your mouse up towards the top of the screen, it'll give you an opportunity to click the 3 dots that are located towards the right of your option there to open that chat box for you. You'll get to read other options that people are sort of dropping in there and answers from our orientation team and potentially our campus partners as well. That chat feature will be what we use towards the end of the presentation to sort of guide our discussion and sort of those moderated questions. So please feel free to drop those questions as they come up for you and as we're going along. The last note, we are recording this. So for any of your friends who weren't able to be here or people you think that this could be useful for, you want to come back yourself. This session will be recorded specifically with a presenter view. So there will be just the one person who's speaking over to the side there. So without further ado, we're going to do sort of a quick introduction just so that you have a sense of who's here sort of in the virtual space with us. And I'm just going to call on people. And Madeline and I have introduced ourselves. So we'll start with Brooke from SafeU.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brooke Adams, and I am the Executive Communication Manager for President Watkins, and I am located in the University Marketing and Communication Office.
Awesome. Annalisa.
Hi, I'm Annalisa Purser, and I'm the Director of Administration in the Office of the Chief Safety Officer.
Wonderful. Jesse.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Buchanan. I am a police officer in the Community Outreach Program for the University of Utah.
Awesome. Stuart.
Hi there. My name is Stuart Moffett. I'm an Associate Director for Emergency Management in the Emergency Services Division of the Department of Public Safety.
Wonderful. Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin Washington. I am the Director of Campus Security and Compliance with the Department of Public Safety at the U.
Great. And Jamie.
Hey there, Jamie Justice. I am the Director of Community Services out of the Department of Public Safety. Nice to meet you all.
Wonderful. So the next thing that we're going to do is each of our campus partners, while focused on safety in our campus community and our university community at large, approaches safety a little bit differently. And so we thought that we would have everyone sort of address the ways that we'll keep students safe while on campus and within our university community, and then the services and offerings that each department or unit offers through their support in our community. So we're going to actually start with Brooke from SafeU.
Hi again. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about SafeU, and what I want to start out with is telling you about the Presidential Task Force on Campus Safety. It was created 3 years ago to look at what we could do to improve safety at the U. The task force met for 2 years and made a number of safety recommendations, which included the creation of the SafeU website, which I'm going to focus on tonight. But I also want to point out some of the other recommendations that the task force made and that were accepted by the administration. You can see here on the screen that included changing how students could park on campus after 3 o'clock, clustering of evening classes, added a threat assessment team, expanded online training, and most important of all, hiring a chief safety officer and other personnel across our campus. Annalise is going to talk to you in a lot more detail about the chief safety officer, which is a big deal. So I want to tell you a little bit more about SafeU. The primary purpose of SafeU is to make it easy for students to find all of the safety related information here on campus, from straight out information to tips and resources offered by our campus partners. And we brought that all together in one convenient location. So students don't have to remember, which office was it that did this or that. They can just go to SafeU and find the information they need. The website anticipates that there are going to be 2 primary actions that people will take when they come to it. Number one is they want to report something. So you can see there's a button there, how do I report? And when the students or campus community members click on that, it'll take them to a lot of different reporting options. The second thing we anticipate that they'll want to do is find information. So the second major button there is where do I get? And when they click on that, it has a lot of different informational topics for them to choose from. You can see 3 boxes there, which comprise a campus news feed that provides updates on the latest safety related news, events, and alerts on campus. So the second question that we were asked to answer for you was what do we do that might be a surprise to you? So I want to talk to you a little bit about SafeU and the heavy marketing that we do across campus to make our students and campus members aware of SafeU and our priority and emphasis on safety. We do a lot of tabling during the year with students, or we have in the past. I don't know what will happen this year, given our circumstances with coronavirus. But we want our campus to know that safety is a priority. We think safety is a culture, and we think that everyone has a role to play in that. So SafeU participates in a lot of different activities throughout the year, and we give away a lot of good swag for students. We involve students in sharing this information, as you saw in the previous slide. Here's some of the cool swag that we've shared with students at different events. And something that might surprise you that I want to share with you right now is that the entire interpersonal violence section of the website was created by students who were in an honors college praxis lab. So Melanie, if you want to go to that next slide, our audience can see a little bit of that. There it is. So the students in this honors college praxis lab gathered a lot of different information, both of resources on campus as well as off campus. And they approached it from what they thought as students, other students would want to know and be looking for when they came to the interpersonal violence part of the website. So again, the whole point of SafeU is to be a portal to gather together all our safety related information in one convenient, easy to use website for our students.
Thanks, Brooke. Annalisa.
Thank you. So like Brooke mentioned, one of the recommendations that came from the task force was the creation of a new position for a chief safety officer. And so last year, after this recommendation was made, the university embarked on a search. And in February of this year, Marlon Lynch started as the inaugural chief safety officer. So on the next slide, you can see the organizational structure. And what I'll do is primarily kind of walk through this to set the foundation for what the rest of our presenters are going to talk about in more detail. safety is, a priority across the entire university. And so our chief safety officer not only manages the public safety divisions, which are outlined here, but also collaborates with other areas of campus to integrate safety services. And that's what you see in that partnership box right under the CSO. So one of the first things that Marlon Lynch did was kind of flatten out the organizational structure of the safety functions that existed on campus, as well as create some new areas to support the expanding department. So first I'll talk about the 5 operational units that exist within public safety. University police are among the most visible and in many ways the backbone of public safety, but they're just one part of the university's safety strategy. Community services is a new division just created since Marlon joined the U. This area is still being built, but will focus on supporting victims for all crimes and will have social workers and other professionals who can provide crisis support. Emergency management was recently expanded to oversee the Emergency Communications Center and will be coordinating travel safety and has been integral in managing emergencies on our campus, such as the current coronavirus pandemic. Campus security provides support services to the community, such as jumping cars, providing escorts around campus, checking building locks, and things like that. And finally, U-Health Security supports the hospitals and clinics and does a lot of training with their clinical staff and students who are preparing to work in the medical field. So in addition to the operational units, Marlon has created some capacity in the Office of the Chief Safety Officer to coordinate safety efforts and work with all of the operational units. So a new IT person will support technology like the 911 call center, body cameras, as we prepare to onboard that technology and things like that. I'm the Director of Administration and I'm coordinating the development of a strategic plan, overseeing the strategic communications and marketing efforts for the department as well. And an executive officer who actually just started 2.5 weeks ago is working with our law enforcement partners across the state and will be overseeing some committees. I want to talk about 2 committees in particular that we will be establishing this fall. The first is a Public Safety Advisory Committee, and this will be made up of about 60% students and 40% faculty and staff, and they will meet twice a month with the CSO and his leadership team, and their input and feedback will shape the development of our programs, training, diversity strategies, etc. A second committee will be an independent review committee, and that group will review citizen complaints of university police, such as abuse of language, violations of rights, excessive force, and things like that. So I wanted to provide that kind of as a foundation before we jump into each of these units in a little more detail. And I'll turn it over to my colleagues to tell you more about those areas.
Thanks, Annalisa. Jesse? Sometimes Jesse's on mute, so we have to remind him to take it.
All right.
There we go.
Sorry, I'm a police officer, not an IT guy, but I apologize. As I said before, my name is Jesse Buchanan, and I'm a police officer here at the University of Utah. I've been a police officer for 18 years, and I've been here on campus for 5 years, and I truly enjoy the campus community. It is a breath of fresh air. The University of Utah Department of Public Safety is absolutely committed to the safety of all students, staff, and guests of the university community. The UU DPS has allocated many resources to support and to accomplish this mission. And some of the specific positions within the police department that are utilized to accomplish this goal, which help address, prevent, and respond to law enforcement matters on campus, include our patrol division, several administrators. We have a canine division. We have a detective division, and within that detective division, there are specialties such as interpersonal violence detectives, property detectives, etc. There's traffic control. There's a community outreach program, which I'm involved with. There's an honor guard. We have a bicycle unit. We have a training division, and there are a special events division, which really address the many, many special and large events that we have on campus. Please advance the slide. So I just wanted to spend just a moment kind of giving some of the basics about staying safe on campus. And as you look over the items on the list, there's nothing on there that should be surprising to anybody. I find as I teach and train and educate on staying safe in the campus community, almost everything that I have to say is just a reminder of things that we've all been taught since we were young, but they really bear repeating, because a lot of times we know we should do these things, but sometimes we just need reminders. So we really do have very low crime on our campus, but unfortunately we're not immune to crime like anywhere else. Most of the crimes that we see on campus are theft or related to theft type crimes, and they're crimes of opportunity. You know, theft is very easy. All it requires is somebody to set something down and somebody else to pick it up. So I remind people again and again, if you have valuables, and I'm telling this to parents, I'm telling this to students, I'm telling this to staff members, if you have valuables that you bring on campus, which we all do, please treat them as if they were valuable to you. If you carry things in your backpack, keep your backpack with you. Don't leave valuables unattended in a vehicle. Don't leave a wallet or a purse on the front seat of your car and take for granted that it'll always be there when you get back, because sometimes it won't. You know, most doors have locks. I tell people that they have locks for a reason. Use them. If you have a dorm or an apartment or an office, please just take a moment and lock that when you're inside for the evening or you're going away. A lot of students and staff have bicycles. Our campus is absolutely gorgeous and it's very bicycle friendly. But you know, just spend a few dollars and get a quality lock. I've seen people with very expensive bicycles and very inexpensive bicycle locks, and those usually are not a good combination, no pun intended. Also, you know, I tell students, you know, I'm a father, and I always tell students, use the buddy system. Again, we're adjacent to Salt Lake City, which is the largest city in Utah, and other beautiful places. There's mountains, there's trails, there's hills. And I always tell students, you know, let a family member or friend know where you're going. If you're going to be away for the day, if you're going hiking, if you're going to the city, please let a friend know where you're going. Let them know when to expect you home. And if there's any issue with that or any reason that you're not where you should be, then let somebody know. That could include a family member or friend. That could include me. That could include the police department. But just use the buddy system. And it really goes a long way in keeping you safe. Go ahead and advance this slide, please. Thank you. One of the things, and I know Director Washington is going to talk a little bit more about this, but our campus security does an absolutely fantastic job of kind of being the eyes and ears of campus. We're helping out with that. One feature or function that they provide, which is extremely important to me, is that they do provide courtesy escorts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I encourage every student and staff members, but particularly students, every student that I speak with to use this. If you need a ride from point A to point B on campus, please call this number. It's 801-585-2677. Ask for a courtesy escort, and a security officer in a marked vehicle like you see on the screen with a marked uniform will come and will pick you up and give you a ride from where you are to where you need to be. If you prefer they walk with you, they can do that too. There's a lot of things that we do on campus. We're a very small town community. We consider ourselves a family. And there's very few things that we won't do, or at least try to do, to help you out. If you have a flat tire in your vehicle, if you lock your keys in your car, if the battery is dead in your vehicle, we will gladly assist you with that at no cost. We just want to make sure students get where they need to be safely. I'm going to leave on the next slide my contact information. I realize there's a question and answer session, but I'm glad you saw my face. Feel free to screenshot my picture if you'd like it. But I can't stress this enough to parents, to students, to anyone. My door is physically and metaphorically open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can contact me by email. You can call me by phone. If there's something I can do for you personally, or anything that I can do for you at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, because that's what I do and that's what I take pride in doing. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jesse. As a few people sort of joined after we got started, I just want to remind you to drop your questions into that chat box. We're starting to get a couple of those, so please keep those coming. Thanks, Jesse, and we're going to turn to Stuart with Emergency Management.
Good evening. Again, my name is Stuart Moffett. I'm an emergency manager. I've been with you since 2006. I want to give an overview of our division, which is called Emergency Services. You're seeing on the screen a couple of programs we do. I want you to kind of burn those into your brain, but in the meantime, I'm going to talk about our division first. We have 3 units in emergency services. The first is emergency management. That's the one that I'm mostly involved in. We have 3 full-time emergency managers in that organization. There's also a peer emergency management organization up at the hospital. They're focused on patient care. We're focused on the rest of academic campus. We have a new and state-of-the-art emergency coordination center, and from there we coordinate a number of campus leaders and monitor campus both regularly and in times of crisis. The second unit is our communications unit. This includes our police dispatch team. They are a 24/7 answering point. If you call 911 on campus, that call gets routed through Salt Lake City and then comes directly to one of our dispatchers, which can help you, and they know campus very well. The third unit is travel safety. As Annalisa mentioned, that's a new unit that's under development. The goal and the mission there will be to assist with global safety for traveling students, faculty, and staff. So let me talk about emergency management, as that's the one that I'm most familiar with and has impact on you. We train, prepare, and respond to natural, technological, and human-caused hazards. In addition, we coordinate campus safety leaders in times of crisis. In our core team, there are 4 team deans, directors, and department heads. They're backed up by their delegates, so that expands pretty quickly to 30, 40. And we manage small day-to-day emergencies. In fact, most of those units manage their own. For instance, a pipe break, facilities has got it covered. HVAC goes out in a building where it's too hot, too cold. Again, facilities has it covered. An issue in student affairs, our student affairs liaison will manage that. However, when any one of those emergencies gets a little bit bigger or has a little bit more of a downstream consequence for the rest of campus, one of those leaders raises the flag and says, we need to get together. That's when we jump in and we start coordinating that effort across many departments and disciplines. We also work with over 300 staff for our building-specific emergency response team program, helping people evacuate in times of emergency, training them on secure-in-place and shelter-in-place activities. And we conduct exercises in various programs across campus, like our annual fire and evacuation drill. And you can imagine that for the past 5 months, our incident management team has coordinated many subject matters across campus to address the university's COVID-19 response, from academic missions to facilities operations, health and safety guidance, housing, IT systems that support contact tracing, health assessments, reporting, and much more. In times of crisis, we have 3 guiding principles. They are life safety. Your life is more important than anything else. Incident stabilization. We want to get back to normal as soon as we can, but sometimes that takes a while. And then property conservation. We do want to protect the investment that the public has made into the university's buildings and infrastructure. But in that order, we try to respond to every emergency. On your screen, what you're looking at from the left is, I've got 3 programs I mentioned. I want to talk about Campus Alert. Campus Alert is our mass notification system. It allows us to contact you and 85,000 of your friends and family who might be up at the U in multiple modes. We can send SMS. That's the fastest way to get in touch with you, is by text message. But we can also send email. We can post to Facebook and Twitter. We can post to mobile apps. We can post to our website. And we do all of those things when we get into a pretty serious emergency. So I would ask, when you go into CIS, find the campus alert tile, make sure that your text number is in there as the mobile one number, the first number. You have up to 3 mobile numbers. So if you've got a partner or parents, somebody out of state, a trusted contact, put their numbers in too, and then let them know that you've got their number in. So when they start to get these text messages that say U of U alert, what they're kind of keyed into, oh, I remember that Stuart is there, and I need to reach out to Stuart and see if he's doing okay. You can also have 2 email addresses. So your first email address is the one that you specify in CIS as your preferred email address. And then you can also add another. So again, that could be a partner, a spouse, a parent, whomever. And for those who maybe don't get the alerts directly, maybe there's some parents on the call or others beyond those 3 to 5, we also post active alerts at alert.utah.edu. So the entire public news organizations, anybody trying to follow what's happening in an active crisis can find that information, the most up-to-date information at alert.utah.edu. Moving to the image in the middle, the second program, I want to talk about 16 and 12. 16 ounces of water, 1,200 calories. This is your emergency food and water. Please, please keep it with you. Most of you are bringing some kind of bottle on campus already, filling it up at the water fountains. Please make sure to continue to do that. Food is also important. So yes, you can survive with just water, but it's nice to have a Snickers or something so you're not too hangry. If you get into a situation where you are sheltered in place or secured in place, it takes some time to get back to your dorm or back to your home and get some food. So if you're going to the gym, throw an energy bar in or a calorie bar or something, and then throw a couple extra in so that you have 1,200 calories on hand. Use them up, make sure they don't go stale, and then just throw an extra one in. You never know when you're going to need it. Moving to the last program, big 3 actions. In fact, I'm going to introduce a 4th, and we may change our graphic for this semester. The big 3 protective actions are the 3 things that you can do on your own with very minimal training to respond to just about any kind of disaster or emergency that will happen on campus. The first is know how and where to evacuate from your building. Get used to other stairwells. When you get out of your class, instead of taking that same route to the next class, try a different route just so you know where the evacuation points are in your building. We also have emergency assembly points outside on campus where large groups can congregate in the event that you have to evacuate a building. Know where those are as well. You can find them on the campus map underneath the safety drop-down. Know how to shelter in place. Shelter in place is usually for a weather emergency, but can also be for a law enforcement issue. We just want you to stay hunkered down and stay where you are. Again, food and water is good to have if you're in a shelter in place for a long time. Then lastly, secure in place. This is probably the most drastic protective action. You would secure in place and run, hide, and fight in an active shooter situation. You would secure in place for some other violent criminal activity that may occur on or near campus. So we want you to know these things. Knowledge is power. And please remember these big 3 protective actions. The 4th that we'll add for this semester and likely into next year is wear a face covering. Wash your hands and stay home if you're sick. The face covering is one way for you to do your part in helping reduce the transmission of COVID-19. The face covering is not for you, it's for other people, right? As you breathe and expel and aerosolize, that mask will capture most of it. Sorry, that face covering will capture most of it. It's just a good community thing to wear a face covering. There are a number of questions that are about returning to campus and what will happen with testing, etc. I will say I'll try to address some of those questions specifically during the Q&A. A lot of information can be found on coronavirus.utah.edu, so I suggest that you check out that resource as well. Thank you very much. Turn back to Madeline.
Thanks, Stuart.
Sorry, Melanie.
No worries, Stuart. No worries. And glad that you caught those because we'll come back to some of those COVID questions. Next up, we have Aaron with Campus Security.
Well, first of all, thank you all for joining us this evening. Again, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Aaron Washington. I'm the Director of Campus Security and Compliance here at the U. Jesse has already kind of gone over a few things with regards to our security program, but I just want to dive in a little bit deeper to talk to you about what programs we do offer through our campus security. Currently, we are a 24-hour a day, 365-day a year operation. Our officers participate in patrol, both in vehicles and on foot in our campus buildings. That includes some of our residence halls, and not just the residence halls, but also student apartments. We also do building checks, motorist assist, so things like boosting batteries, unlocking your vehicles, helping to change tires, all of those things. In addition to the safety escort program, and a lot of these things we're working on expanding some of those services that are offered. We also do lockout assistance if you live in the residence halls. So after hours, if the residence hall staff is not present, we assist with those lockouts. So if you forget your keys or something. And then we also assist with emergency access to a building. So if there was an alarm or something of that nature that was triggered, we would respond in conjunction with campus police to make sure that they had access to those buildings. Currently, we have a staff of a little over 30 unarmed security officers. We are in the process of expanding our personnel. And so I'm going to give a shameless plug really quickly while we're on here. If you qualify for work study, or are interested in a part-time position, we do hire students as security officers. You would go through all types of training, get the same training that all of our other security officers receive. So if you're interested in that, definitely take a look at our HR website and those jobs that are posted. So that's a little bit about our campus security program. In addition to campus security, I am also responsible for the accreditation process with the Department of Public Safety. That process was one of the recommendations that was made when and I can't remember, was it the President's task force? I think it was, sorry. I should have prepared a better speech, but so we are doing CALIA accreditation, and really what that involves is us writing policies, implementing those policies, and really showing that we are in fact doing what we say we're doing. And all of that is in an effort to really make sure that we're meeting best practices with regards to the Department of Public Safety, and really providing a professional and safe campus police department and Department of Public Safety for the U. You can go to the next slide. So the last kind of piece of my job that I really want to talk a little bit more about and really kind of dive into is the Clery Act compliance piece. So the Clery Act essentially revolves around making sure that we're sharing safety related information with the campus community to enable them to make good decisions as it relates to their personal safety. There's 3 components to the Clery Act in terms of kind of information sharing. One of them is the Clery Report, also known as the Annual Security and Fire Safety Report. That report contains statistics for the last 3 years of specific Clery reportable offenses, along with information on policies with regards to safety at the U, and also resources for reporting, and then also resources for things like counseling and other things here at the university campus, or some of our partners that are out in the community and not necessarily associated with the U. Another part to this Clery Act compliance is our daily crime log. That log is posted on the University Police Department website. It gives a detail of all crimes that have occurred on campus, not just Clery reportable offenses. And that is updated within 48 hours. So that information is available both on the website and in person if you would like to see it at the police department. The last piece that I'm going to talk about is our emergency notifications and timely warnings. Stuart actually just alluded to the timely warnings piece. We don't call it that when we are pushing them out to students, faculty, and staff on campus. They're called safety alerts. These are done when there's a crime that occurs on campus and there is some type of an ongoing threat to the campus community. You will receive those, as Stuart stated earlier, via email and text message. So make sure that your information is updated in the system in CIS so that you're able to get that information when it's sent out. Emergency notifications are kind of a level above those safety alerts or timely warnings. Those are when there is an immediate threat to the campus community with regards to safety. A lot of your natural disasters or weather-related situations, those will go out as emergency notifications. But those are also a part of that Clery compliance piece. And I'll turn it back over to Melanie.
And last but certainly not least, we have Jamie with Community Services.
Yes, thank you. Very happy to talk about community services. In short, we're responsible for supporting individuals and their families who've unfortunately been victimized in some way. So nobody plans to be a victim. Nobody wants to be a victim. I'm sure you're not planning on your student being a victim. In the unfortunate case that that happens, we're there to be a comforting and supportive as possible because this really can be one of the most challenging times. These crimes can be theft, burglary, assault, domestic violence, hate crimes, and so on. We're staffed 24/7 to provide support to individuals in crisis. And this can look like many different things, but in short, we listen, we make a plan together, connect to resources, and advocate on their behalf. More tangibly, our round-the-clock crisis support specialists take warm line calls, really trying to meet folks where they are by whatever method is most comfortable. This could look like a virtual meeting, an emailing, texting, or a face-to-face meeting, at any location they feel most safe and most comfortable. That means no wait times or appointments, which can seem really small, but I guarantee when you're the person in crisis, it's really important. We walk with crime victims as they engage in the law enforcement investigation, during the criminal justice process and beyond. That looks like advocacy. It looks like educating them about their rights as a victim of crime. We provide options counseling. There's lots of decisions to be made. And like I said, we never prepare to be a crime victim, so the systems can be complex. We inform about the process for filing a protective order or a stalking injunction or any other civil related order. We offer transportation and accompaniment to appointments and court hearings, which is hugely important to have somebody with you during all of those sorts of things. Lastly, and possibly my most favorite thing to talk about as of late, but I won't go into detail, new to the Department of Public Safety is a special victims unit, which I and others are developing. It will be a specialized team of law enforcement and victim advocates who work hand in hand, and now a victim advocate or crisis specialist will respond with patrol in cases involving interpersonal violence. This, we believe, will lend to a more positive experience for those calling on police for help, or for those who are wishing to make a police report. And I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jamie. And for those of you who are joining us sort of in the audience, there have been some questions that have been posed in the chat feature here. And I'm going to give Madeline just sort of a beat or two to pick out maybe a question or two that has really sort of surfaced to the top in terms of a theme that we're finding. So I'm going to give it just a second for Madeline to jump in with maybe our first question.
Yes, of course. So our first question that came through in the chat, I think will be great for Stuart. And this is, hi, will there be testing required of students from certain states regardless of whether or not they live on campus? And can students get free testing on campus? Stuart, could you tell us what you know about COVID testing that's happening?
Sure, and I'll start that answer with sort of a broad statement. You can believe and imagine that the situation is pretty fluid, right? Every day we learn a little bit more about disease transmission. Every day we get a little bit closer to understanding which tests are the best and how can we optimize, specifically for like move-in day, for instance, for housing. So yes, there will be required testing for students who will be living on campus. The CDC has not given guidance to say that if you're coming from a certain state or not, right? For instance, if you're coming from California and cases are high in California, there is no extra requirement to say if you're California, you got to get in this line, right? If you're living on campus, you'll be required to have a test. Now the question is getting at what if you don't live on campus? So right now the planning is that we are going to test all students who will be moving in I think the third week of August onto campus. The other plans for student testing are still under development, right? How do you get a test? Do you get a test before you come from your state? Do you wait until you get a test here? All of those things are still fluid and under development. So generally, I would say, please, please, please keep up to date on coronavirus.utah.edu. Information is posted almost daily in some cases. The Return to Campus website is also very helpful, but I know that those two are actually merging and it will be a little bit easier to find information. I think that's coming out in like a week or two. So that's kind of that specific test answer. I also want to suggest that if you do live on campus, make sure you're going to housing.utah.edu regularly. They also post regularly about the move-in process and how that's going to be a little bit different this year. You'll be moving your luggage in yourself rather than having a lot of helping hands doing that. So I think that's enough for that one because there'll probably be another one coming. Another question, I mean, Madeline?
Awesome.
Yeah, go for it, Madeline.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stuart. And that's really helpful to know about our COVID and Return to Campus websites kind of coming together so we can have all of this information in one place. That's great. Another question we have is, with the current orange status in Salt Lake City, how does that impact current plans for on-campus housing, if we know? And what would a change to yellow look like for housing?
So I can also take a stab at that one. We have one of the most top-notch directors of housing that I've ever seen, and I've talked to a lot of campuses. Barb Remsburg is the executive director of our housing and residential education. She is also in our incident management team, and so she is connected daily with the testing experts, with leadership on campus, and we are monitoring very closely, as you can imagine, cases in Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County. Again, these cases are going up and down kind of daily. We've had a number of high percentages, about 10% positivity rate sustained for the last few weeks. It just took a little bit of a drop, so that's good. We're hoping that that continues in that direction as people take the mitigative actions that they can. How will it impact on-campus housing? I'm going to say this. Barb is so advanced looking. She's got a plan for if we are in orange, and she's got a plan if we are in yellow. So currently we're in orange, so that's what's kind of public facing. If we go to yellow, then that allows for a few more things to happen within the housing community. I hope that answers Mike's question.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stuart. With the housing questions, also I do things that are housing specific. Yes, of course, Barb Remsburg is a stellar director. And because of this, she has anticipated a lot of these questions. They're actually going to be hosting their own virtual event on Monday, July 27th at 6 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So these housing specific questions that might not fall into this broader idea of campus safety or university safety will also be great to ask there. So the next question, I know Jesse did answer it in the chat, but I think it's great if we can just say this for the benefit of the larger group. And the question is, if you did dial 911 from a personal cell phone on campus, will it get to campus help efficiently?
Yes, and Stuart, again, Stuart's very intelligent. Stuart, correct me if I'm wrong, but any landline call from on campus will immediately go to the University of Utah Department of Public Safety Dispatch Center, which is physically on campus. Our dispatchers know the campus well. They know the streets. They're very well versed in the goings-ons of our campus community. From a cell phone, and the way I understand cell phone technology, the cell phone signal gets bounced to the nearest tower, and that gets sent to the nearest emergency communications center. Sometimes that goes to the Salt Lake City Police Department. But they quickly determine that the incident's happening on campus, and they will immediately send it back over to our DPS dispatch center. So yes, I've never heard of anyone experiencing significant lag time or any problems with getting a hold of 911 or any type of emergency communication on campus. Oh, sorry, and it's worth noting, texting to 911 absolutely is a feature that works and can be done on campus too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jesse. So this question is a little bit more general. Maybe, I don't know who could answer this, but do we know what the difference between orange and yellow is in the state of Utah?
Sure, I could take a stab at that. Again, there's a good website that shows all of this, and it's very detailed. So if you really want to jump into details, you're going to head to coronavirus.utah.gov. And underneath there, you'll see the color-coded guidelines. Basically, orange is that you can have operations, whether that's university, business, personal groups, etc. But there are restrictions. So for instance, in orange right now in Salt Lake City, many retailers are asking that you wear a face covering when you enter into the store. In fact, a number require it. So there's an example of an orange. In yellow, it will probably still be really good to wear a face covering because the virus is still transmitting. But for instance, some of the event numbers. So if you want to have an event, right now it's at 20 people. When we're in yellow, it moves to 50 people. Some outdoor events right now have very limited people, but when we go into yellow, it will be, I think, 6,000 people for an outdoor event. So there are many kinds of categories that affect yellow and orange. Remember that they're guidelines. I think if you've got, if you're at high risk health-wise, or if you're concerned about transmission of the virus, again, personal hygiene, wear a face covering, do your part. That will help reduce transmission no matter what color we're in.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stuart. This is probably a good question for Aaron. If you would like an escort, about how long does it take for them to get to you?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So it's varied at this point, which I think pretty much on any campus that's going to be the case. So those escorts usually would get to you within less than 10 minutes. But that's given a few different kinds of situations. So if there's something else going on campus where they're being tied up, it may take a little bit longer. But it usually would not take any more than around 10 minutes to get that escort to you. So I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. So this question is clarifying whether or not if the university remains in orange, if students will still be in housing.
Yeah, and I just hit that in the chat. Yes, the answer is yes. So again, I tune into Barb Remsburg's meeting if you can. She'll have some more exact answers, but here's what I know. They are planning to have quarantine and isolation spaces available within the housing units. So if you or your student comes and tests positive, or a roommate tests positive, there will be a protocol that we follow to move those folks into quarantine and isolation. Obviously, if cases are up, that we need to reserve more space. If cases are down, we can reserve less space. It's a great question to follow up with Barb, or to get to housing@utah.edu via email, or housing.utah.edu on the web.
Could I just follow up here too a little bit about the website? So Stuart's correct. We're in the process of merging coronavirus.utah.edu and returntocampus.edu. And the returntocampus.edu website will be the primary website with all this good information on it. I also want to say that we've been hosting a number of webinars. The most recent one featured Mike Good, who's the Senior Vice President for Health Sciences, and Lori McDonald, who's the Vice President for Student Affairs, specifically addressing testing, tracing, and what metrics we're going to be following as we look at moving from one color code to another here on campus. So I highly recommend, and you can find those webinars at the campus news hub, which is at theu.utah.edu.
Yeah, Brooke, thanks for reminding us of those webinars. And I would say, again, fluid situation. So even if you watch a webinar and you think you have that answer, double check it against the websites that we've mentioned, because that will be where the most recent information is posted.
So we have time for just one more question. And I think that, so to find the webinars, I'm going to pause just for a second. For Brooke, it's utah.live. What's the specific?
No, you want to go, there are a couple of places. You can go to the University of Utah's YouTube channel. They're posted there. They're also on our campus news hub, which is, it's a little bit of a long name, at theu.utah.edu. And you can find them there. They're also posted there. They also appear on the President's website under videos and podcasts.
Great, Brooke. Thank you so much. I think that last question was taken care of in the chat box, but I want to be mindful of our time. So I don't know, did Jamie jump off? It looked like Jamie had to take the on-call phone there. So I don't know.
I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Okay. So this question, and I know that Jesse sort of responded to this in the chat box here, but what should a student do, or how would you coach a student who didn't feel safe, or who should they call if they feel like they're being followed? And we'll sort of end on that question.
That's a great question, and it's one that I hear often. So thank you for asking it. And Jesse did reply in the chat feed. You call 911 if you believe that you're not safe, or that there's a threat, that you're being followed. Absolutely call 911. Don't hesitate to do that. I always tell victims, people who ask me these questions, trust your instincts. There's a reason that you feel that way, and there's no harm in calling if it turns out to be nothing. At least you were safe, right? So I'll add on to that some people want to talk through things that are going on in their lives, but they're not sure what direction to go. So a bad breakup, for example, we often work with folks who go through what their friends might be calling, this is just a bad breakup, get over it, he'll go away, she'll go away. But at some point it triggers something for someone. They say, this doesn't feel quite like a normal thing. So it's completely appropriate to call us at Community Services, just to talk through what those sorts of things are. We can do some options counseling. There's plenty of other resources on campus too. for folks. There's the Student Wellness Center, the Victim Survivor Advocates, Women's Resource Center, Family Resource Center. There's so many resources on campus, but I'm always happy to meet people where they are. It doesn't have to be a crisis situation. I've met with many people who are really just struggling to figure out, you know, what their options are, whether or not this is all normal, what they can do to protect themselves, civilly or otherwise. And we'll have long conversations about that.
Great, Jamie. Thank you so much. And I want to just go ahead and reiterate some of the information about housing. That next webinar that was just announced, this is hot off the presses today. That email went straight out from housing. So we're taking the opportunity to continue to promote. That will happen on Monday, July 27th at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll send a follow-up email most immediately, just so that you have that piece of information, but also probably in another week or two with some of the highlights of things that we've covered in this particular session, as well as a link to the recording for this particular session. If in the interim you have questions or you want to learn more or reconnect with any of the campus partners who are here today, the Department of Public Safety, their website, dps.utah.edu, the SafeU website, definitely check it out for yourselves and for your students, safeu.utah.edu. Orientation and Transition, which you are no stranger to at this point in the summer with the communication that they get to push out. And of course, the Student Success Advocate Team, ssa.utah.edu. Thank you all. Big thank you to our campus partners for being here. This was a treat that we got to do this together. So I will close it out here and say, take good care, and we'll catch you on the next one.